Broadcasting from Ireland, featuring interviews with some of the biggest names in magic. Welcome to the Deceive Reality Podcast with your hosts, David Peace and Steve Spade.
And we're back. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Deceive Reality Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is David Peace. I'm joined again by Steve Spade. Steve, how are you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Good. And with special guest this week is Ben Williams. Ben, thanks so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
I am jolly good today. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. People who are just on the audio only don't get to appreciate your lovely headphone jumper that you're wearing for the podcast. You know, just, real professional.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I'm actually a magician because of a failed DJing career. So
yeah.
we'll hear more about that.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. How did that failed DJing career lead into magic?
Well, I used to DJ. I used to be a techno DJ, and it was right around the time when David Blaine broke on TV doing an advert here where he did card through window on a car windscreen or on a car window or something, and I saw that, and that coupled with his street magic show, I was just like, right, I need to learn how to do this, because if I DJ and then go around the club showing people magic like this, I'm going to get booked to go everywhere. I'll be a superstar DJ. It'll be amazing. And then I very quickly found out that I'm not learning the secrets to alchemy. You don't just say some word or do something and, you know, some clever prop does it all for you. It's like there's actually quite a bit of work behind it. So
absolutely.
I kind of trying to leap straight into the kind of club rave scene and totally unprepared for that. And so I kind of like worked on magic in the background, and it was just a hobby kind of thing. Did it down the pub for mates and stuff like that. And ended up losing a job or walking out of a job right before Christmas, and that's how I just plowed straight into working professionally. So
I love the idea of like a little flashback monologue of you like just mixing away or whatever, and you're like, "What's that on TV? What? He's throwing cards out a window? Fuck this!"
Oh mate, I remember it. I spoke about that street magic show for days afterwards. It's like, no, but he bit a coin. He bit a coin. Like what?
Yeah.
I always wonder, like, how many magicians would there actually be if Blaine never happened? The whole thing just like died, because everyone, it's all Blaine. You know, it changed it.
Yeah, you can definitely see there's a wave that he just. It's just like that ripple effect, really, isn't it? He just started it and it just plowed out. Yeah, it's pretty mental, really, what he's done for magic. So, but I actually, do you know what?
When I learned like,
no, you go.
I was just saying, I remember when I learned a Red Hot Mama, I was like, this was like the first time I learned a trick that was like a Blaine trick, and I was like, this is like a kid's magic set. This is like actual magic.
Do you know what? I watched that street magic thing so much that it was actually I had a couple of tricks. My family had been out to Vegas and they brought back that UFO card. So I've been going around. I was working a job selling cutlery in a House of Fraser or something like that. I was about 17, 18 or something, 18. And I go around spinning this card and people, woo. And one of the people that worked there told me he used to know a magician on a cruise ship. And he said that he had taught him some stuff. And he said to go and get the Royal Road to Card Magic and Bobo's Modern Coin Magic. And so that kind of like exploded that serious side of learning for me. But yeah, I remember watching that street magic video over and over and over again. And so all I had was this UFO card, and I saw, you know, the card to mouth move, where you're holding the break. And I saw this break, and I was like, why is he holding the cards like that? Like, that's really weird. And then I watched it, and then it wasn't there anymore. And I was like, what's happened there? And so I went and got a deck of cards, and I put them in my hand in this way. And then I kind of like moved along and followed along with what he was doing. And it was part of an ambitious card sequence. He wasn't doing card to mouth. So he was just loading the card on top. And that's when I realized what I figured out one of those moves of Ambitious. So I went around showing the UFO card in this one phase of Ambitious to everyone for ages.
That must be the only one phase Ambitious card routine that's ever happened in existence.
Probably, and it's at the top again.
Yeah, it's at the top, and that's the trick.
You show me something else? No, that's the one trick I know.
Then 21 card trick, just straight into it right after that. Ebb and flows, as they say throughout your show. But yeah, I think it's like those two, Roll Royd to Car Magic and Bobo's Coin Magic, really are like the best places for people to start, because I don't even think anything has come along really to like compete. Everyone's like, stick with the classics.
Yeah, I think
good ground.
I think there's some solid foundation lessons in there, you know, and I think also it's one of these things I've spoken about this before a bit, like. Beginners magic sets are full of these tatty tricks and like these, you know, the cheap cups and balls and the boomerang card and stuff like this. And I personally think that there's two reasons for it. One, they're accessible kind of tricks that you can do, but they're also they test you. If you actually have the tenacity to play with a magic set, make something magical happen with that, and stick with it. Then you actually have the sort of personality that can, you know, become a magician, because you have to plow through so much, you know, this, yeah. And everyone takes to something quite differently, you know. Like for me, I love the technical side of playing with a deck of cards, but I didn't like being in front of people. I didn't want 20 people gathered around me, like yelling at me. I didn't realize as well, when you start to learn magic, you go from being, hi, I'm just Ben, to now I'm Magic Ben, and everyone's going, show me that trick, do it again, like pulling you around and like, you know, just demanding stuff of you that they wouldn't normally demand off a normal person. And it can be quite intimidating. So yeah, it was that sort of social side of it that it took me ages to get round to, and kind of like, because I was always quite a quiet person. I'd sit there and watch everything. I wasn't really shy, but I wasn't like la 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 kind of thing. And you have to learn to be like that to be a magician, you know.
Yeah, you got to be okay with it. And it's that thing as well I always hate when someone pulls you and goes like, do that trick where like the card's in your mouth and it swaps places with one in their mouth, and you're like,
yeah.
Right. Do the one where the cards turn to glass. Yeah.
Do that one where the X was on my hand and I didn't know. I'll come back to that one.
You know what? There's one of my favourite performance stories is actually of Double Cross. Funnily enough, Double Cross features in one of my sort of funnest memories performing, and one of my most horrendous memories.
The same story.
No, different stories. But no, I was at a gig, and it wasn't long after Double Cross had come out, so you know, it was everyone was doing it, but it was still really fresh, and like it wasn't like every social media magician has got it on their social. You know, it was like still people didn't. You know, there are certain tricks where, like bottle through table. If you go to London and try and do bottle through table, people see you wrap the bottle up, and they're like, "Oh, he's going to put it through the table." And yeah, so I was doing Double Cross, and the booker, I did it to her, and she went absolutely nuts. I mean, she was reacting well anyway, but this like put her over the edge, and she dragged me out of the room to the hallway where her best friend was, and said, "Do that trick again." And she showed up her hand. And she was the booker, and she was like raving about how amazing I was, and this was a good friend and everything. And I was just like, well, what the bloody hell do you do? Because I knew like she was raving about it, but I knew she had some smarts to her as well. So she was going to wait to see when's this moment that I touch her. And I was just like, oh geez. And so I got the stamper out, and I grabbed her friend Mary, and I said, just come over here. And I stamped her on the back of her shoulder instead. And then I dragged her to the group, and then this whole group was surrounding, and I was opposite this lady, Mary. And I did the whole Double Cross presentation, and you could see like this booker start to go like, wait, hang on, what's going to happen here kind of thing. And And I hammed it up, and I was like, right, I've not been anywhere near you, have I? All right. And they're like, no. And you can see I'm all the way over here. I definitely haven't been behind you, have I? And then I was like, just look over your shoulder right now. And she looked over her shoulder and she shat her pants. She was like, Jesus, Mary, Joseph. She was literally like, doing Hail Marys and like running across the room. Like it just exploded. It was amazing. It was like, it was one of those moments where you kind of like just, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. It was just like, right, that's happening. Okay, right, I'm in this situation. Do it. And it was really amazing.
That's your David Blaine moment, Ben.
Yeah,
there you go.
I had a woman nearly run into a pillar in one of these big conference, big conference rooms sometimes have pillars down the sides of them, like big not stained glass, but huge windows. I had a woman and I did Omnideck on her and she just turned around and legged it, like proper legged it. And this pillar was about 6 foot away from her. She nearly smacked her face into it. She literally turned around, ran, and then was like, whoa. Like, yeah. So... But yeah,
I remember I did double cross before, and it was at a wedding, and it was shortly after getting it and stuff. And then the bride, they were like, "Oh, you should do that in the bride," and all I could see was this lovely white dress. And I was just like, "Oh no," because even doing like a anniversary waltz or something, I'm always like, "Here's the Sharpie. Now be very careful with the Sharpie." And I was just like, "How am I going?" So I ended up just doing it to the groom instead, and like made it go from her hand to the groom. I was like, I'm not going to risk dropping something and having a back streak.
So you licked her hand.
I did. I actually used condensation, so it worked out well.
So Dave only does weddings just so he can lick bride's hands. You heard it here first.
It was actually, she had a drink in her hand, so I picked it up and like put it down to draw on her hand, and then had enough moisture on my thumb. So it was like sweet. Yeah, COVID really has hurt a lot of tricks where you used to lick stuff.
Yeah. Oh no, do you know what? I love. That was going to come out really wrong there. I love putting stuff in my mouth. But no, yeah, like, it really is like, because I would like eat torn corners pieces and stuff like that quite a lot.
Yeah.
And, do things like that, and I don't know, just in general, I do things like popcorn kernel from and now I only ever really do that, and it's rare if I'm doing kind of like stand up, because I'll make a big thing out of it, and I'll get some popcorn kernels, pour them into like a wine glass, and just stick that there on the table, and then I get somebody to come up, and then I give them some like rubber gloves, those latex gloves, and they start like going like, what is going on here? And then get them to sanitize, and then they hold I get them to choose one, and they hold the popcorn kernel, and I just come up and genuinely snort the popcorn kernel out of their fingertips, and then pull it out from my eye. And you just have to wait for the rest of the show to walk out the side.
You're driving home later on and you sneeze and one just hits the dash. You're like, what the fuck? The shit that we do as magicians is ridiculous, to be fair. Really it really is. Like,
because I think the eye vanish one, where if that goes wrong, it's bad.
What if that goes wrong and you got to go to the hospital, and they're like, and how did you get the popcorn kernel up your nose? And you'd be like, well, I'm on stage and I had a. Like, imagine trying to explain some of the accents and things that we've had. If you had to explain it, to an emergency room or something.
Man, like just accidents, prepping stuff with blades and stuff. That's hazardous in its own right. But yeah, I remember I really wanted to be doing. What is it? Thread? Is it Thread by Wayne Houghton?
Yeah, Thread.
Thread from Eye. Oh, and I swear I nearly went blind trying to do that. Like, my eye would just go super like bloodshot and just be sore for days afterwards. Another one was do you ever learn Freak, that one by Will Houston?
Yeah, I do.
The Ben,
and Dynamo can do that so well. And I remember I bought the booklet from him at a Blackpool Magic convention when it first kind of came out. Like, he hadn't released it anywhere else. and everyone was talking about this finger thing, and so it was one of those things at Blackpool. And I went over to Will, and he showed me, and I was like, "What the hell am I seeing here? That is horrendous." And he was like, "No, anyone can do it." So I bought this booklet, and I remember going around. I was drunk as hell, and I was bending my finger in all night for people, going, "Oh, look at it!" They're like, "What the hell? This is horrendous." And I woke up the next day with the sorest finger. Like, I could hardly bend it. I was like, "What the hell was I doing last night?" That was it.
After a few drinks as well, I always find that I forget to do like the moves for that trick and just start bending the finger. It's like, oh
no. No.
Yeah, because I'm double jointed anyway, so it benefits me, especially in on my baby finger. So I have like some stuff I can do with my baby finger, and then I just throw that in at the end, which just makes people go, "No, that's not right."
Right.
But you used to always do that thing, Dave. You were saying the coin in the eye thing, and that was like it's a good trick. But I was always like, it's not a good trick to be doing, because like you were like taking a coin, any coin, off the bar or whatever. Definitely not now. Yeah,
I did it at a tattoo. That one.
Ben Sideman one.
Yeah. Because I did that one, and then I did it at a tattoo convention. And at the tattoo convention, I had the coin in a Ziploc bag, sanitizer, gloves, and all that sort of stuff. Because I knew at the tattoo convention, they'd all be in the super clean stuff and with the gloves and that sort of stuff. But then I was out with some friends a few weeks ago, and someone was like, "Oh, do that eye thing with the coin." And I was like, there was like hand sanitizer on the table, so I like coated the coin in hand sanitizer, and I was like,
you just woke all the germs up and then shoved it in your fucking mouth.
Yeah.
Best of luck with that.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Yeah, I didn't get sick, so bonus.
Yeah, winner.
But yeah. There are those. I remember the time we were doing a show before, and Steve decided to do card stab because I suggested it, and he had a flip knife, and as he stabbed, the flip knife closed. So
just went yeah. And I was on stage with a guy because he was holding my wrist, and I was, I don't know where the card is and whatever. And I had like missed a few times, so I was playing it up that I wasn't going to get it. And then when I slammed down and it closed, and I felt like the blade wrapping around back into the handle, I was like, "Oh God, I don't want to open my hand because I think I'm after losing a finger." I just didn't want to. So I just slowly dropped the knife and just went like. But you could see everyone in the front row were all like, they were proper like shocked. There was hands over their face, and they were like, "He's definitely lost a finger." But it was almost like it was cued in there perfectly. And like if you try to put it in there, you would definitely lose a finger. But but the way that it worked, it was great. It was one of those happy accidents.
Yeah. Oh man,
but it was fun.
Do you remember Blaine on his Street Magic? He did the card through the napkin or through the menu or something.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
he did his hand down on the blade, and yeah.
I think he cut tendons or something. I think he says in that he couldn't move his finger in it or something. Yeah.
No, that's awful.
I once
what were you?
I remember my parents, when they finally thought I was old enough to have a penknife. They got me a penknife. I don't know how old I was, about 9 or something, 10. And I remember in the evening I was playing around with it, and I closed the penknife. But as I closed it, my pinky was over the slit where the blade goes in. It snapped down, and it just sliced the top of my pinky off. I managed to whip it out, and the top of my pinky was just hanging off by like this thread of like skin. And I remember going to the sink and pushing it back on, and this blood just not stopping. And I was just like, "Yeah, Mum, Dad, you told me not to play with a penknife." Yeah. And oh man, I still have like a little ring. It's like a little scar ring around my pinky, where I chopped the top of it off. So yeah, I feel your pain there.
Yeah. I know. I didn't want to look at my hand because 1, you're on stage. 2, you don't want to be bleeding on anyone.
Yeah.
3, you don't want to lose a finger. And I was like, I still want to find the card. So I was like, I found the card. It was all good. The trick was over pretty much. But but it was fun.
I've had it before at a gig where I've had like a hangnail and I've bitten it off. And it's just been one of those things I've not thought about. And I'm doing walk around and I've just bitten this hangnail off. And I started to do card magic and looked down, and I've got blood like all over my nail and my hand. It's like, yeah, that's not good. I'm gonna go. I'll be back in a minute.
The one deck of cards you have is now like a red down the side.
Oh dear.
I was in a show before as well, and we'd hand tickets. It was like a public show, and just before the show, I was like, "Oh, they need to be guillotined." So I started guillotining them and stopped paying attention, and took like a layer of skin off my finger. And it was just like, it stung like nothing else. Like you couldn't even see it, but it was just the thinnest layer of skin just right off the finger. So my hand all bandaged, but I was doing smash and stab. So I was like, rehearsal didn't go well because like, my hand was just completely bandaged up, and I was like, we'll just do it anyway. Hurt like hell when you're slamming your hand down on a table. That's like just been cut, but yeah. It was a better story to say smash and stab went wrong than to be like, I was cutting the tickets and I bled all over them. So
yeah, you got to ham it up. I mean, we lie about enough stuff. We might as well lie about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For some of the stuff that you've created and stuff, a lot of it is around the like everyday items, like the linking polos or like the labeled and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where does like the ideas for that sort of stuff come up? Is a lot of it just you're sitting around your house having lunch and you're like polo mints and coke? That work?
I think some of it is some of it's like an exploration into kind of creativity. It's almost like trying to look at things and ask questions. Like, what can you do with that? What can you do with this? What could you do with that? What are the properties of this? And like, you know. How could you exploit those properties? You know, and would it be magical to do that? I suppose is a good question to ask. Asking questions,
asking that early as well is good, rather than coming up with a whole thing and then be like, and it's not magical. Shit.
Yeah. I think also like it was partially stems from the you know the wave of magic that I came in from, because there was this whole wave of it. I mean, there's so many creators now. Like, if you could think, like, try and name, if you sat here and named creators that you know of off the top of your head for a minute, you wouldn't have even scratched the surface at how many creators are actually releasing magic at the moment. Whereas when I started, there was like, you know, a handful. You know, there was, you know, maybe 10, 15 main players maximum. You know, at one stage it was mainly like Justin Miller and Danny Garcia and Wayne Houchin, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there was this whole wave of everyday magic. You know, loads of coin and bottles were coming out and things like that. And it was just naturally, I just naturally gravitate towards that creativity. And I think labeled started from just a moment. I was in hospital with my wife. Back then, she wasn't my wife, she was my girlfriend, and she was in hospital, and I was visiting her, and her dad was there, and he had a bottle of Pepsi. And he took the label off and he rolled it up and he just stuck it inside the bottle. After he finished it, screwed the lid on and put it in the bin. And I was just like, ooh, labeling bottle. Oh, and so yeah, I you know, the first kind of iteration of that was literally just a bottle that you put the label inside, and then you just have a piece on the outside, and it sticks to your hand as you slap it on. And that was kind of like the first idea that I had with it. And I remember there was this website called Magic Video Depot, and it was where magicians help magicians. So you post up videos, and I started posting up videos with these ideas, and then people like ask questions and things like that, and it spawns other ideas. And so I was like, right, okay, well, if I'm going to do anything with this, so especially if I'm going to make it a product to release or something, you know, a solid effect to release. It can't just be this. This is just a bit naff. It's just a brain fart idea. Although it works, it's just, you know. So then I was like, right, okay, what if you had something written on the label? And then I was drawing X's and stuff on the label and duplicating stuff. And then I was like, right, okay, what if, you know, what it really needs is for the bottle to be sealed. And if I can work out with the bottle sealed, then then it's a solid product. Then it's like, something that hasn't been done before, and there's a nice twist on topical magic. And not that was the driving force of creating it. I think the driving force of the creation was just being inspired by that style of magic that was around at the time, and so yeah, I figured out. Well, it was actually again with Gemma's dad. He's a sewage technician, so he literally climbs into shit tanks. but yeah. He's got one of these brains where he can take things apart in his head and then put it all back together and stuff like that. And we were
sewage technician sounds better.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a better CV job title for sure.
Yeah. And then, so we kind of like brainstormed the idea and played around, and he helped me kind of like come up with the idea of how to reliably keep the seal on a Coca-Cola bottle. And Labeled was kind of born, really, and then it all kind of like started. That got released, and I put it was a visual change on the blurb, and I got torn a new a-hole on the Magic Cafe by people going, it's visual change because your hand covers the label at the time of the change, therefore you're covering it. It's not visual. But it's a 7-Up bottle, and all the white on the label was white, and now it's green because it's behind the label. So that is a visual change.
That doesn't sound very believable that there's dickheads on the Magic Cafe. That doesn't sound.
I won't have it said.
So yeah, that then challenged me. I was like, right, well, how do you do the change without cover? And that sort of made me go back to the drawing board with Labeled. And that's when I came up with all the kind of visual changes where you shape the bottle and stuff like that. And for a long time, I kind of, that was just all that came out, Labeled, and then the extra add-on DVD relabeled. And
I think it really shows the like two sides of where your creativity, where like the Magic Video Depot, where people are being positive, making suggestions, asking questions, and you come up with something really cool. And then you go to the Magic Cafe, and as people being assholes, make you go, I can do it visually. Then I'll fucking show you.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be fair, like you don't know how. Yeah, without reading that one comment, with this person insisting that it wasn't visual, I don't know whether I'd have plowed on with it. I tend to actually, to be fair, I tend to not put tricks down. I still play around with, with the tricks that I do. I think with Labeled, I'm pretty happy with Labeled now. I think that's why I brought Evolution out, because it was like, when you tinker with something in the back of your mind for like 10 years or like 15 years, it was just, at one point you kind of like, the goal is, you walk into a shop, you take a bottle, you have a spectator sign the label, you shake it, it visually goes in the bottle, and you hand it to them, and it's still sealed. That's the dream.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think we all know that's pretty far going to happen. Without some sort of elaborate setup, you can't. There's not a practical way of doing it. I played around with the spectator's signature and bottle, and there's a method on Evolution for that. But yeah, it's not got the same aesthetic as the other bottle tricks. And to be honest, you don't need it. You really don't need it. I've done this trick so many times that you do need some proving that the label isn't in the bottle first, and that I do like sticking a torn corner on the bottle, because that's as good as a signature, if you like. And I play around with either having it kind of appear so the bottle's a prediction and it's got the card corner on it, so it's already done, or just having some tape and a card corner and taping the card corner to the bottle live and then doing it. I think that works really well. If I'm going to do it for a couple or for anyone special, then I'm just going to write something on there for them. At weddings, I'll write something cheesy like their names with a heart between them or something like that. Or congratulations, Rita and Mark, or whatever it is, with their wedding date on it. And it really doesn't need to be their signature. I think it's magician thinking, isn't it? We talked about this with other magicians before, about like sign cards to non-sign cards, and
if it's thought of card and it ends up in your pocket, would it need to be signed? Like, I mean, it's you know, you palm it in and take it out, you know, or whatever. But like, does it need to be for them? Does it make the trick less, or you know what I mean? It's weird. It's a weird one.
I think one of the main things is that when we see a magic trick, we ask the question, can it be signed?
Yeah.
But the layperson doesn't.
No, because lay people don't sign coins.
Doesn't go, but could it have been signed? Could I have written on it and it still have been there?
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, you just don't, we're the ones that have normalized that. You know, where was I?
Theaters freak out when you go sign the card. They're like, really?
Yeah.
A couple of times the other day. You know, I'm doing it was actually for a couple that I did their wedding a few years ago, and they were having like a baby shower, congratulations, we're moving party kind of thing, and they had me along to do some magic there. And a couple of the people there were like, but I'm just going to ruin your cards. And it's like, it's all right, I'm getting paid enough. It's fine.
I'm going to leave them here anyway. So
it's a bizarre thing. And the idea of, you know, also, if you're going to do a card to anywhere, the two impossible theory does apply here, because, you know, if you take like the idea of, right, okay, so you choose a 4 of hearts and then suddenly it's in their pocket, the spectator's pocket, or your pocket, wherever, you know, you're sat on it, whatever you want to do, something like that is amazing. And it doesn't, for a spectator, it doesn't need to be signed because it was a free choice. Mm-hmm. But if you had it so that it was like, okay, now here, what we're going to do is the card vanishes. Now put on the TV there and rewind back here. Can you see the Eiffel Tower there? Now stuck on the top of the Eiffel Tower is this, like, a sort of reveal like that. It's just like, well, that falls flat because it's not, it's obviously not the same card.
It's the thing of why you went to compromise, because I think if you did a really fair choice of card and then a duplicate appears somewhere and they can go get the card and turn it over and it's there, or you use a double backer and have to put the card back in the deck and do a double lift, it's like, what is better really is, because once you put the thing back, people go, oh, he's going to switch it. But if they can turn it over, I think that's good.
Yeah, do you know, I think the way I sort of see it is performance kind of is never static. It undulates. You can be static if you want to be static with your performance and with your patter and with how you perform moves and how you control people, and you can be very, you know, do the same thing over and over again if you want. But it doesn't matter how much you do that, people are going to throw that off kilter. And I'm not that sort of performer that does that. You know, I like to meander between people and find out, you know, I like to bounce off people and figure out what sort of type of people they are, you know, whether they're going to want somebody a bit loud and brash and a bit faster and cheekier, or whether they're going to want somebody just to be a bit more attentive and quiet and sit down with them, you know, that kind of thing. And so I suss people out. So I kind of almost tailor my performances to the people. I have my things that I want to hit with what I say, but yeah, I don't have this static kind of approach, and it doesn't even matter if you do, because everything is thrown off kilter. Like you can't, you know, you perform to 100 people, and they're all going to be 100 different performances.
Yeah,
you know, it's.
I think weddings are perfect for that as well, because you've got the groomsmen who are going to be loud and the grandparents. It's like, it's two different things. You've got to be able to, like, I always sit down with the grandparents.
And then you have like
something about
the new families, you know, like the mothers that were friends, but they have their kids and they're like 1 to 2 years old. So you got that dynamic. You got the grandparents. You got, you know, the groomsmen. You know, like, yeah. I you know, I really love doing weddings. Weddings is one of my favorite things to do. Actually, I think we're particularly lucky. Like, is it magic at weddings popular over with you guys?
Yeah. It's the main thing. I think it's weird. I find it weird that it's not big in America.
Yeah.
It's so big here.
I've got a buddy, Nick Carrick, and he's just taken the leap to go sort of professional. and he's doing some street shows and stuff like that. And he really, really wanted to, because he knows that I do weddings, and he really, really wants to do weddings. But he's like, it's just not like people. It's such a hard sell. Like people are just like, what? No.
Their day is different as well for the weddings, because like a lot of times over here, the bride and groom don't meet each other till the top of the aisle or at the ceremony, and then they go away for photos, and that's when the magician is at the drinks reception. While a lot of time in America, the photos are done before the ceremony, and they have the photos of the first meeting and all that sort of stuff. So the lull where we perform, I always think is like that isn't really there at the wedding. There's still a little one in America, but it's a slightly different, and a lot of times like weddings in America are like over at 9 o'clock at night.
I remember
heading home.
I remember talking to Tom Peterson, Tom Peterson, the amazing guy, and he was saying, oh, I would really like to do weddings in America, but it's not really a done thing. And he was like, in the beginning of like Pretty Woman or something, there's a magician doing magic at a wedding, and he was like, it's lies and bullshit. It doesn't happen in America.
Yeah, it is bizarre because they love the entertainment as well. So
there was another movie with that as well, where it was some sort of, I think it was like a bad Hallmark Christmas movie or something, but it was about two wedding planners who were competing or something, and there was always a magician at the wedding fairs there, and all he was doing was like sponge wedding rings, or like a sponge engagement ring was the only trick that the magician in this movie was doing for every couple, and nobody ever booked him for their wedding. It hurts to watch.
Do you know what? We don't get a great rep when we're portrayed on TV or anything like that. It's either a really cheesy magician like that just is cringeworthy, or it's a jackass. Some cocky, arrogant schmuck. And there's never an interesting magician character that's like just
like Burt Wonderstone, where you've got like the Chris Angel kind of rocker asshole guy, or you have the like washed up kind of Vegas performer. I mean, that's it. There's only like two demographics as far as Hollywood goes.
I know, but like that, surely there's like, I mean, the series The Mentalist touched on that kind of character a little bit, and I like that, and I think there's room for, and I suppose that
magic's
been done quite well with The Prestige and The Illusionist.
Yeah.
I think Now You See Me was just it was fun, but it was I think there was I think it was fun for lay people, magic and everything. Yeah, I think magicians get off on slightly different stuff. Like The Prestige for me was a great film. I love
that movie. Yeah, it's one of my favorites. I watch it all the time. The thing I think Now You See Me is known for now is like every card magician on TikTok is doing the hand thing with the back pan. It's being recreated everywhere.
Mate, I know. I've seen that.
And it's never good as well. You're like, they saw the card. They saw the card. They saw the card.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, though, right? Like, I don't know how long it's going to be before people realise that some of these things on social media videos, like ones that are so clearly set up.
Yeah.
They know that they are clearly set up because they know that as soon as they release it, you're going to go, rah, it's just clearly a setup. And that's going to make the algorithm go crazy. It's going to put your video out everywhere. Everyone's going to comment bad, like, crap on it for you. And it's just going to make it go everywhere. And
the ones I think are ridiculous are the ones where like someone will have like tinfoil in their hat and then they'll lick a battery and then they'll whatever and then
shaving foam in your ear.
Put a load of fucking links into a can of water and then they'll drop a clearly bent coin already into that water, stir it with a finger and be like, look, it bent all by itself. You could do this too. I'm like, no, you couldn't, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, that was I think Rick Lax was the first
one. No. Don't even say his name.
I remember seeing a stretchy banana in a can of Red Bull thing or something. I was like, seriously? What?
Yeah. There was a multiplying banana fucking thing as well, where you had like dipped in like chocolate sauce first, and then they wiped it off, and then it.
But like, I mean, seriously, these brainstorming sessions where they're not there going like, this is such a good magic trick. Imagine if you can make people think this is stretchy. they're playing the algorithm game. That's all that they're doing, and they're playing it really, really well. I mean, I think a lot of content on the internet is absolute tosh at the moment, and not just in, it's not just in magic, like in general in life. And there's just this whole access to instantly upload everything in life at the moment, and there's just this overload of it.
Even if you get a viral video now, it just means that you're on par with a fucking cat falling out of a tree. I mean, it means it means nothing. Like, it really means nothing.
So I've got this channel, The Magic Dad, where I do magic for my kids and stuff like that.
Cool.
And I've been like wondering where to take it and what to do, because essentially it's going to be part of like a monthly subscription for parents to learn cool shit that they can do with their kids. And
very cool
magic. But like I started doing it with my buddy Neil Henry, and his social media was just too busy. So we got to this point of launch, and then he just couldn't carry on. He was like, I can't give the time that Magic Dads deserves and do what I need to do to pay the bills and everything. And it's like, well, that's shit, but that's how it is. And started to like rewrite and do everything else on my own and redo everything. And one of these videos just took off, and it was on like 39,000 views. And I was like, oh, bloody hell. Like, what's happened here? And then it was like 50,000 views, and it's me doing the finger chopper on my daughter. And it just starts with me going, here, can you feel that? And she's there, and you can't even see me. And she's like, yeah. And I'll go 3, 2, 1, ah, and slam it down. And it's like a 12-second clip. And then suddenly it was like at 50K views. I was like, what? Hey? And I was like, mate, I might even get 100,000 views here. And then after about a week and a half or something, it crept up to 100,000 views. I was like, mate, this is insane. And then suddenly it was like 500,000 views a couple of days later. Then I was like, it's going to hit 1 million. It's now on 77 million views.
Jesus.
I'm just like, what the actual?
Okay, that's way better than a cat falling out of a tree. I'll take it back.
No, the thing is, like, I don't know what I don't know what to do with that. Like, it's not earning me any money. It's like I don't have. It's basically flown as well, because it spurs a whole load of comments of people either with smiley, laughy faces going, "Oh, I imagine if you did that to your kid," kind of thing. And it's either comments like that, or it's, "You should not be a dad. You've traumatized your kid. This is how trauma starts. You should what if she did it with a real one or something like that?
What if she bought a real guillotine?"
Right,
Did you think about that?
Exactly.
Think of the madness.
Oh, mate, it's just ridiculous. Like,
if anyone's watching and you make real guillotines, please get in touch.
No, like these people are like, "Oh, you should have your kids taken off you." I'm like,
Jesus
are you
Christ.
kidding me? Like, do you have any idea? You've judged me and my parenting skills on a 12-second video of me actually doing it to my daughter on Halloween. And she's seen the trick. I literally just done it on my nan or on her nan as well. And it wasn't like, it's just so
It would be at every kid's magic party. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
The internet's just such a strange place. And so even though, this is the thing, going back to like, just information overload, even though this video's got 77 million views, which just blows my mind. I can't even think of what kind of a number that is. It's it's just in a sea of clicks and an absolute ocean of loads of stuff just swimming around in there, and it's just a mess. And it's not like, I don't know, I've really had to kind of like think about how to structure Magic Dads, because like doing daily content as well is a tough thing. I'm trying to get kids on board, and it's like it got to the point where I was a bit like, do you know what? I'm promoting doing great stuff with your kids and everything, but here I'm ruining mine. I'm like, stand here, look, we've got to do this, like, and then I'm also going, right, okay, another video, but if you do this video, I'll give you a sweet. And so like I'm bribing them with sugar, and it's like,
you need to
It sounds like early days of the Jackson 5, Ben. Fucking hell.
You need to hire some child actors to pretend to be your kids and just use them for like a couple of weeks.
Oh dear. Yeah,
I even found that with the quantum. I started doing reviews recently on the channel. I did the quantum deck review, and it got like way more views than any other review because all the comments are people arguing about whether or not the trailer was honest. So I was like, literally usually controversial stuff to make people like actually get the views going.
Oh man, yeah, that was I was on the Sunday session where Craig Petty had the meltdown.
I saw that. You look you look like you just fallen in. You're like, we're here to do like impossible location, like jam session. Oh no, everything's burning down.
What did I walk in on that? That was crazy. Yeah. I remember both times that Craig slammed the laptop down or quit out. I was a bit like, maybe that's for a good thing. It was like, he's back.
If he had slammed on the laptop and then lifted up and like, there's the card underneath. Look, impossible location.
I remember watching that be like, Ben is regretting making a call today. I think that Magic Dad thing is definitely like a cool idea because like I've a nephew and he's just 4 now, and it's like getting to show him magic and he's actually understanding it for like the first time as well is like really cool, because I spent so long in him growing up being like vanishing a coin, him not caring, being like he doesn't have object permanence yet, we'll wait a bit longer. I'm like,
there was something there and now it's not.
Yeah. Is this not normal? Okay, whatever. Let's carry on. But yeah, I picked up Monkey in the Middle recently off Penguin, and I did that for him, and he was just like, and then he like looked at his parents who were also like, I was like, yeah, he's getting it now.
I think I think the stuff that I was creating for the Magic Dads course as well is all like, it's all fun. Like there is some basic sleight of hand that will come, but it's all simple stuff. It's like I don't know, like making sweets appear in between 2 Costa cups that you put together like a shaker. So you sort of show them empty and then you shake and now you've got sweets. And it's just a simple kind of 2-second build that you can make. And and so the whole idea is that that like parents don't have time to do stuff. I've hardly got enough time to do what I need to do in life, let alone do all this stuff to teach you what to do as well, and I think there's generally with parents there's a feel of like, I want to do this stuff, it would be cool if I could do it, but I don't have the time or the ability to do it. I don't have those kind of hands, and stuff like that. And so I think it was just an idea of like putting together just stuff that you can do that would be fun as well, like stuff like folding a napkin rows, things like that. So you can find a lot of this stuff on YouTube. Some of it half of it I've created myself, but some of the bog standard stuff you can find on YouTube. But the thing is, you have to then plow through YouTube and plow through a lot of crap videos in order to find things that are good, and you, when you don't know, you don't know.
A one-stop shop is what you want, to just be like, show me all the cool stuff and I'll just do that.
So yeah, that's kind of like one of the things I've been working on in the background, essentially. It's but yeah, it's just when you're performing, and then I also tinker with creations. Being a parent takes up a huge amount of time because I'm very lucky in doing what we do. The amount of time that I get to spend with my kids is amazing. I'm very lucky. So
it's definitely cool. I think that there's that magic for that thing is great as well, because like my dad did magic for me growing up, and it's like one of the reasons I got into it. And there's always just simple things like the one I always remember, because I'd never seen anybody else do it, was he used to make a coin cry. Or he'd just have a coin and he'd squeeze it and it would just, water would just start running and dripping off it, like the coin was crying. And it was just like the coolest thing to me. And it was just like a little bit of tissue paper.
Tissue paper at the back.
Yeah. And it was just like the best trick. I never put it together that he always did it like about 5 minutes after he came back from the bathroom. Like a hotel or something. But it was just like, it was just
quick. No, you got to watch it now.
one sec there, and it's like, it's getting hot. Hurry.
Was that like a pocket money thing? Like, I'm sorry, Dave. Unfortunately, the coin is crying, and that means I can't give it to you.
I like make the coin cry, and he'd be like, later. I just need to go to use the restroom. Like, okay, and he was like, I'll do it now.
never. My granddad used to do. Did you ever see that two little dicky birds sitting on a wall thing with a bit of paper on the fingernail?
Oh,
and
yeah.
so you can stick a bit of paper onto your fingernails, and you go one name Peter, one name Paul, and you go fly away Peter, fly away Paul, and the bits of paper disappear, and you're just switching your fingers, and you're doing it on the edge of a table. So you go fly away Peter, fly away Paul, come back Peter, come back Paul, and these bits of paper disappear and come back onto the fingertips. I swear, I never knew how that trick worked until I learned Ring Thing by Garrett Thomas. I was like, oh my God, that's what my granddad used to do. Jesus Christ. I was like, is he sticking these bits of paper up behind his ear? And those were like crazy ideas that maybe he was throwing them away and then like they were coming back. But then I started to look at the shape of the bits of paper and no, that's definitely still the same piece of paper.
Can you sign the piece of paper?
Can I sign the piece of paper?
Yeah, can I sign it? Yeah, I definitely asked that in my little like 6-year-old layman brain.
And you could sign them.
Yeah,
there you
go. No duplicates.
No duplicates.
Paper Thing coming out soon by Ben Williams. This is
Paper Thing, and you can sign it. You heard it here first.
Yeah,
it's a great idea though, man. I've got a 13-month son, Michael, now, and he's not doing any, like, he can't even classic BAM, so it's okay. But in time, ridiculous. But no, I am looking forward to being able to like show him magic and him kind of understand it or kind of want to understand it or be amazed, you know. Like I was just flip sticking his spoon the other day when I was trying to feed him, and he was looking at me going, "Why don't you just fucking feed me? Like, what's going on?"
I do that to my wife. She's like, "Just give me the thing."
We can't. We talked about that before, myself and Dave. You actually, as a magician, you can't hand anything to anyone. You have to vanish it before you hand it to them. It's a law.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Do you know what? It's a funny thing being a magician, isn't it? Because like you have all these tiny little quirks. I remember sitting having a chat with James Brown, and he was talking to me, and we were talking about a little thing with a coin, but he didn't have a coin, so he was just gesturing with this coin that he was holding, and it was part of the patter that he was talking about the routine, and he handed me this invisible coin, and we were just chatting, and I took the invisible coin. And then I literally vanished the invisible coin. I pretended I had it in classic palm and then tossed it over and then vanished it. And he just stopped talking. He was like, "Did you just vanish that invisible coin that I just passed you?" I was like, "Yes, I think I did."
It's true. It is true.
If only you had a real coin and just made it appear, like, oh yeah, and then vanish it back.
Yeah, like I think
I do it with food. I French drop, like especially popcorn. I'd be in the cinema just eating the same piece of popcorn but never eating it and just French dropping it and picking it back up out of the bag. Nobody's watching me, but I'm just doing it myself because it's fun.
It's so tight. You don't even buy popcorn. You just come in with one fucking bit.
Yeah, buy a small, it'll last the whole movie, and like
a miser's dream with one kernel. There's another trick for you, Ben. Write them down now.
It reminds me
this is the only reason I came on here. Like, material.
It reminds me of a story of a teller used to do in like a coffee place where he'd put a ball underneath a cup and then lift it up and take the ball out. But he was pretending to put the ball under the cup and then sneaking the ball under the cup as he was lifting up. So to everybody watching, he wasn't doing anything, but he was actually, it's kind of like their sleight of hand thing with the pencil and the lighter, it looks simple, doesn't it? Routine.
Yeah.
Oh,
which I really like that.
Isn't it Di Vernon used to practice the top change by it looked like he was trying to rest a card on a card box that's on its side. So he turned the card box on his side and it looked like he was trying to rest a card on it, but he'd knock that card box over and then he would come back, do the top change as his left hand with the deck pick the box back up to rest it back up, and then he'd go to rest the card back on it and knock it over again. And so he's doing this as a practice for the top change movements. But anyone watching it, there's just this old man that's like trying to balance a card on a card box and just fucking it up every time.
Yeah. They're probably like, someone's going to pick him up and bring him back to the home soon, poor guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it is a weird thing of, I like that concept of like using magic, but to everybody else it's normal what you're doing, but you're like getting the illusion of normality.
I remember sitting on a bus years ago. It was in college, when I was in college, and I had the self-folding note. I think it was made up on a 20 at the time. And I was sitting on the bus and I was just watching it fold because I'm like leaning to make it fold. And I'm like watching it and whatever. And then I look up and I'm doing it again and I'm opening it up and folding whatever. I'm watching it fold. And then I look up and then I just see everyone in the bus has turned around. They're all looking at me. And I'm like,
this freak.
Yeah. It was like into my inside pocket. I got up. I even got off at the wrong stop. I just got off whatever stop and it fucking stopped on. I was just like, this is weird. They're all staring at me.
Get out.
Yeah. We can't get lost in that. We can get lost in that zone if you're practicing something or something. You can kind of forget that you're in the real world. People could be looking at you.
I had that. I went to the Burning Man festival. This was years and years and years and years ago, and I had been practicing kind of coin magic and everything, but I wasn't really showing anyone anything. But there's some people came around and sold us some magic mushrooms, and we took some mushrooms, and I'm on this Winnebago, and I am just looking down, and I've got like body paint on and all this, like just covered in sand, and I'm just making this coin just disappear and reappear, and I'm like almost fooling myself. I'm like, whoa, no. And I was there for ages, and I looked up, and then all my mates had just stood around me, like just literally leaning over me. I was like, ugh! They're like, don't stop. And I'm like, oh, I can't do it now. I was like, yeah, that was a real proper shock back to reality. I was like, literally, I wasn't there.
It's like sober.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
I like doing things like that as well, like trying to see if people would notice, because I used to hit the bus a lot when I was in college, like 10 years ago, and I'd have a card on invisible thread and I'd drop it on the floor and then make it float back up to my hand and put it back in the deck. Right. Nobody would notice. I was like, I could actually be a superhero here and nobody gives a shit. And I had like when I lived in Boston for a while, I used to have like the Charlie card for paying for the subway, but I'd hide it in different things. So I'd hide it in chewing gum packets, I'd hide it in things. So I'd always tap with a chewing gum packet instead of the card, or I'd have it like inside a deck of cards. I'd tap that, or like in my phone, just anywhere I could hide it that it would fit, and like nobody noticed.
No one gave a shit. No one cared. Oh.
I love that. I love the idea of you dropping the card and you're like,
yeah, you're like, hello, people.
Everyone, look at me.
Yeah.
Like trying to share my magic with you guys, but nobody seems to care.
I like to. They don't do it anymore because they kind of have a pay at the pump legal requirement now. But you used to be able to go into a petrol station, and if you didn't have money to pay, you'd give them your details, and then you would be able to at least leave to go and pay, or they would send you a letter or something. You'd sort the payment out afterwards. And so I used to all the time go into petrol stations, put 20 quid in, and then go up and like, oh God, I've left my wallet. And I'll be like, oh, and I'll run out to the car, and then I'll come back in. I'll be like, oh, I don't have my wallet. I'm sorry. Can you just take me off a bit of receipt paper and I'll write my details down? They go, okay. And they they'll pull off this bit of receipt paper, and I'll just do a bill change with it. And then I was like, oh, and now I've got 20 quid. And I was like, oh wait, no, that'll cover it. There you go. Like those moments, like they're just like, what? Like just, and like I don't know. It's almost like you kind of, like you were saying, like David, that you don't get those reactions that you were expecting. Like people are just like, I mean, you weren't getting any reactions.
That's completely different. You get no reaction whatsoever.
I think when you do magic in a situation where people don't know that you're a magician and aren't expecting it, and they see it, it kind of sketches them out for a moment. They just don't quite, like when
you second guess it, that like, did it actually happen? Yeah, I find that with the I told the story before about with beer mats at a wedding. I used to buy drinks and I'd pick up a beer mat, rip it in half, pick through it, and pull a 50 out. and then pay with that. And they would just looked at it and carried on. And after the 5th time I did it, they eventually went, he's doing it again. He was like, for fuck's sake, he did it again. And they were just like, oh, but it took like 5 times before I got the reaction that I wanted of the people that like.
It is weird. I think it hits them hard, but they don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's almost a bit like, hang on, is this a hidden camera show kind of thing? Like, was it?
There's a little glitch in the Matrix. I used to do it a lot when I'd go through tolls, and I'd hand up like I'd show a €2, like a normal €2 coin, but by the time the guy would like have the thing would come up or whatever, I'd have switched it for like a jumbo coin. So now I'm holding a jumbo coin, and then I'd switch it back, and I would just hand in the coin, and I'd just drive off. And you'd obviously the guy going, what was that? He'd always be kind of like looking into your car, because I'd just leave the jumbo coin quickly. But it was always on the beat of like, it's kind of like that old gag where you could like, if you had a $5 in your hand or something, and then you switched it you had a 20 in your hand, and then you switched it for like a $5, and then you hand it to him. There's like a little kind of like glitch in the Matrix kind of thing. Same thing with this. But the thing was, you were driving back from a gig, could be like 2 in the morning or something. So the guy is like sleep deprived and he doesn't know what's going on anyway. He's been handing 10 cents change out to everyone all night, like, and then all of a sudden, hang on, I need to go home now because I definitely feel it. I did it every time I was on that same road. I used to do it to the same guy every fucking time. Just for me, like just so I could like laugh for the last like hour of my journey home. Cruel. It's cruel. We're using our powers for evil.
I do need to do more of that, though. I used to do that a lot more than I do now. I think, like, since having kids and, like, just naturally your social life, I'm 40 now, and, like, your social life kind of, like, just gets a little bit less wild and everything. And so I have less social interactions where I show magic as well. And I think that buzz of, it's Magic Ben has kind of died down a little bit as well, and so instead of it being something which I'm expected to do when I go out, it's more like I'll go, do you want to see something I've been working on or something?
Yes, I find that as well. Like I was recently met up with my college friends, and they actually just called me Dave, and I was like, I'm Magic Dave. What the fuck?
They're still not reacting, Dave. For fuck's sake, 20 years later.
They were there, and I was like, I have this new thing I was working on. So I said, I'll bring it with me now. And then eventually nobody asked me to do anything, so I just started doing it. I need my test audiences. They don't realize, I think a lot of like your friends and family, that like they're your trial ground that you use before you do anything at a gig. You're like, I have to do it for these people first, just to get it. It used
to drive me crazy when with my wife. Like, she hates magic now. She hates it. She's like, no. And like, when like you would practice something and you'd be, when you would do something and you get it right the first time, and then you do it a second time right, and then you'd be like, right, I've got to show somebody. Because it's like, now you know you can do it. Like, you did it twice, not just once. You did it twice. Now it's ready to show. And like I would get into that point and into that frame of mind. And then I'd be like, "Oh, James, can I just show you?" And she'd be like, "Can you wait a second?" And at that point, my heart would sink, and I'd be like, "Oh, well now." Now the moment's gone, and I don't want to do it anymore. Like,
you're like, I don't want to do it anymore. They're like, oh, come on, like, stop being such
and the funny thing is they're always doing something serious. Like, they've either just come in from work, they're like rushing to go somewhere else, they're minding a child or whatever, and you're like, no, you've got to see this. I've been working on my multiple shifts all day.
I had a story with that, like, really name it wrong. So I was like, a few years back when I was proposing, I was like, I'm going to propose with a magic trick. And we were going out for dinner, and I was like, I'm going to propose at home beforehand, and then we're going to go out. And my wife was shockingly, she was late getting ready, and she was running down the stairs. We'd already called to push back the reservations at the restaurant, and I was like, before we go, can I show you one trick? And she was like, what? She was like, fine, but first I gotta check my email. So she went and checked her email, and I'm standing there with like a ring box in my pocket. And eventually she came back, and I was just like, come on, I need to get this trick done. But it worked out in the end. But I always remind her that she checked her email while I was trying to propose.
I love that. Oh dear.
You should have had it in her email.
Yeah. I should just email her now.
You should have just emailed her.
Yeah. No, wait 2 seconds. Right, check it now.
It's always that way as well. You get excited to show something and then it doesn't work, and you're like, it's worked like so many times in the mirror, and now it's not working. I did the whole thing of like, I like it was like halfway through a routine and I was like, oh crap, I've messed this up. 1 second, I just turned my back like a 4-year-old child. I was like, okay, and now your card's gone. Thank you.
It's like that old thing years ago. I remember I was in a competition years ago, and there was this other performer, and he like totally messed up the trick, and he was like, I'm not shuffling the cards, I'm just putting them where I need them. And he was like, and he was like talking to himself when he did it. I felt so sorry for him, but yeah, it was fucking awful. And he was doing like a multiple card selection after that, and halfway through he just like he couldn't find any of the cards. He just lost it, and he fucked the cards at the judge and walked off the stage.
Oh mate, oh
he doesn't do magic anymore.
yeah.
That's a pity.
So I had
Did he win? He won my heart. He won my heart.
Yeah. I lost the competition going over, like because I was I did like my kind of working set, which was like stuff in an envelope, ring flight and stuff, and then I was just like I didn't know how long I'd been. And so I was like, well, I'll do one more. And do you know the one where it's Pit Hartling's The Flick, where they flick the cards and they flip the cards to their thought card, yeah?
Yeah.
So I brought this woman up and I got her to think of a card and I called it to the right position and everything. And I got her to sit there and I was like, and just flick up the cards. And they're all going like, ding, ding, like you got to hurry up kind of thing. And she just put her fingers to the cards and like pushed it. And I was like, oh man, okay, no, squared it back up. I was like, you got to flick it, like proper flick it. And then she went, nah, again, and like pushed the cards all over the table again. I was like, oh no. And that's when they rung the bell and went, no, we can't have this. And so I squared them up again. I was like, no, we will get the card.
I can do it signed. But
she got the card in the end. But like they were like, yeah, I mean, you were good on time. You could have left it straight away after your working set, and they were like, but you were about 3-4 minutes over. Like we couldn't give it to you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I always find that as well. I either go like really fast or like way over when you're trying to like get your timings in your head. Sometimes you'll be like, oh, this is my set, 20 minutes on stage, that's fine. And then you're like 2 or 3 tricks in, and you're like, I've only been up here for 5 minutes. It's like I always have my set and then the things I know I'm going to have to add in at some point.
I was doing a lecture recently, and at the beginning of the lecture, the bloke came in and he stuck the clock on the wall and everything like this, and I'm like, right, and it's like 8:20, and I'm like, right, oh god, I've got to pad this out a bit here. So I start padding it out, and I'm like, I've got about 6 tricks. Well, no, probably about four tricks to show in the first half, and I talk a bit about different bits and bobs and different ways to play them out. And I'm here like going, no, oh god, it's only 20 past. I've got to go until 9 o'clock. I've got to really start padding this out. And I'm talking about this card and condom for ages, and I look up, and it's 8:20, and I'm like. And then they go like, should we call it for? It's 9:05. Should we call it for the tea break now? And I was like, what? It's 9:05? And they're like, oh yeah, the clock doesn't work. I was like, you came in the room and you put the clock on the wall. He's like, yeah, it doesn't work. I was like, Jesus Christ. I've been sat here going out of my mind looking at this clock that never changes, thinking, how much do I have to pad? And you just sat here listening to me talk about condoms for like 20 minutes.
You're like, we get it, okay? We get it.
Any questions?
It's like that time that David Stone was over and he was doing a lecture, and they asked, this is like old magician, it's awful, but he was like, do you use a balloon like on the top of the glass to produce the glass? And he goes, no, I use a condom. And your man was like, yes, a condom. And he goes, is it a condom you use? And David was like, does people not fuck in Ireland? What's going on?
He was like, yes, you can use a balloon, but I have condoms, so that's what I use.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Oh, it's so funny.
David Stone's lecture is one of the best lectures ever.
Yeah, excellent. And that box set that he had that time, that DVD, the restaurant, the workers, wasn't it?
The real secrets of magic.
Yeah, fantastic.
One of the best DVDs.
Awesome at the time. It was really good. It was produced like no other kind of like DVD. Although it was kind of set up performances and everything. I think it was a really kind of slick production.
They're worker tricks, though. I mean, if someone was trying to like transition into a hobbyist, into even remotely starting to take it serious, I mean, that's definitely a good
His book as well, that little book, The Real Secrets of Magic.
The Secrets, excellent book, yeah.
Such a great book, such a great book. Like
full of good tips in there.
Full of tips as well, things that you'd never think of, like just. I don't know, having stuff like black gaffer tape or a big fat marker in case you tear a hole in your trousers and you got to colour your leg in black and stuff like that. It's just like that you've been a performer for a while, and the situation you're putting tips like that in. You
should always have gaff tape somewhere, like in your car or in your bag or something. 100%.
Oh mate,
you can fix anything with it.
Yeah, gaffer tape. I've always got things as well, like just Pritt stick and safety pins and stupid stuff and weird stuff. And the amount of times that I've kind of like gone, oh damn, I need something like that, and a pin will do, that'll work.
It's always when you open your boot though and you're like, oh, I have this rope and duct tape just lying in my boot, that's fine.
Oh, mate, I got searched at a wedding by the security. I came out. I went into the disabled toilets just to have a bit of space and sort my stuff out. And I came out of the disabled toilets, and they like seen me on camera, and they thought I was going into the toilets to do drugs. So they grabbed me off, this big security guard. You grabbed me off and took me out to the front of this venue. I'm like, I'm the magician. Yeah. I think he was like, oh man, ridiculous, because he was like, right, well, I think I know what you've been doing in there. I was like, yeah, you don't know what I was doing in there at all, mate.
I've been loading a goldfish into a piece of
into a fake thumb.
And he was like, right, you need to empty your pockets. And I'm like, seriously, are we really going there? And I'm like, right, okay, well, there's this, and there's this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And he was just like, what the hell is all this? I'm the magician. What
you want is an appearing cane or like an ever-ending silk, just to be like, and this.
A massive straw or a pole out of your jacket.
Yeah, a 12-foot straw. There you go.
Really working on our cool magician image there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stone out.
Yeah, and million silks on your sleeve.
Oh dear. But yeah.
It's always those silk tricks are the ones. We had a couple of people ask questions actually as well. I'll just bring one of them up there. But what is your everyday carry? So do you carry anything which the acronyms is getting too much in magic?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is your STD of choice? What?
I think it changes, if I'm honest, because I go through phases of wanting to play with coins and things like that, and then so I probably generally I always have something like my Razor wallet on me, although I don't do that much mentalism like that, but it's nice to have. I always have my phone on me for anything like digital force bag.
Such a great trick.
I love doing console as well. The lotto ticket prediction on console by Mark Lemon, and the Spider-Man one where it's the word on the fridge. And I generally tend to have, if I've got my Razor wallet, I've got a couple of business cards. I have a Sharpie on me and maybe a thumb tip or a coin, a couple of coins with a shell. I mean, I don't really have I have to have this everyday carry. I think sometimes it changes. Sometimes I'll have coins and sometimes I won't. It depends on how I feel, really. Sometimes I'll be loaded for sharp money or something like that, and sometimes it really depends on my mood. Depends on what I'm practicing at the moment, what's inspired me. I like, and also it depends on who I'm going to go and see, because a lot more of what I do now is school runs, going to gigs, and I know where I'm going to be if I'm going out, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a bit more of a plan to do it. So
you can kind of tailor it to whatever the venue or whatever you're going to be. And I suppose then, like most magicians, there's a lot of impromptu stuff that you can do on the fly as well.
Yeah. I think, do you know what? Like simple stuff. Just a coin vanish and coin on shoulder is a killer. I love doing coin on shoulder. That's if you can just make a coin appear, disappear, come out your elbow and then go on their shoulder, then that's a winner. And also you can do so much stuff just off the cuff. Like just if you got business cards, you could do anything. I think we tend to overthink things, and sometimes just doing something like ripping up a business card and then shuttle passing it for a folded business card, and then say hold on to those pieces. In that kind of situation. If I'm at a wedding, at a gig, I'm not going to do that kind of thing like that, I don't think, because you're at it's that magician spectator kind of thing, and a lot of people sometimes are they're like trying to figure you out. But if you're in a casual situation, you're just messing about, and you just hear, look, I'll just grab those pieces. People they're not looking. It's not that test situation, and so you can kind of get away with a whole lot of cool stuff, which is just really basic, really. And I think, that's why I love doing just a double lift and not doing any other thing with it. And like not doing a transfer or a teleportation or anything like that. Not having it as a multi-phase kind of thing. Just a single double lift. They choose a card. I've already Herman passed it to the top as I give them a card, and then it turns into their card, and it's just simple and pure. And I think it's far too easy to think if it doesn't fool me, then it's not going to fool them.
Yeah,
that's just not.
I learned that a while ago as well with like the rub-a-dub vanish. Never fooled me. I've never been fooled by the rub-a-dub vanish. Even from a kid, I always thought it was really stupid. And then I was explaining to someone that there's this vanish magic that loads of magicians do that I think is stupid, and I did it for them, and they screamed and were like freaking out. So I now do the rub-a-dub vanish all the time. It's like it's one of my go-to, like it's in my opening sequence at every event. And you
do it now. You do it so often that it actually starts to look good. To be fair, now he's getting reactions now.
Yeah, I get the reactions for that stuff. But it's it's one of those things I did work on it to make sure I could get like attention, vision into it, and all that sort of stuff to make it like as good as it can be. But it was always one of those things that like it just never fooled me, and I was just like I can see what they're doing. I don't get why this is fooling people, but there's many other examples of those sort of tricks now that I didn't think were really that good, but then you do them for your lay audiences and they love it.
I do the cross-cut force a lot.
Yeah,
I love the cross-cut force, and I do it a lot, and I still, to this day, because I have a couple of little subtleties on it, just things like when I go. For starters, I kind of asked them to cut near the center of the cards, because I was doing my anything routine. I got a chance to show Johnny Burrell from Razorlight at a festival, and he was performing, so I got a chance to see him afterwards. And I did labeled, and that all went really well. And like he was like, "Okay, cool." So I said, "Can I show you something else?" And I did, and I went to do my anything routine, which like a one ahead kind of principle. And I went to do the crosscut force, and he cut about 6 cards, and then put them down. And I was just like, oh, shit. And so I patted and patted and patted and patted. And then it came to the point where I said, can you just look at the card that you cut to? And he was like, that's not the card I cut to. He was like, that was the top card of the pack. Like the card I cut to is that one there. And I was just like, oh man. And his manager was just like, he's busted you. And then they started ripping into me. And to the point, it was horrendous. I was just like, mate, because I showed the word prediction at the end of it, but and I kind of said, I don't even know why I bothered doing this. I was just kind of trying to do something, and I was trying to talk my way out of it a little bit. And then I said, can I have a photo with him? And his manager said, yeah, as long as you don't use it for anything promotional. It was that bad. He was that savage. Oh, mate.
What a dick.
But I do. So I have little subtleties on the crosscut for. So I say, can you cut somewhere near the middle? And then I lift up the pile to complete the cut. And I say, now in a casino, they would complete the cut. And at this point, I'm running my other finger. I'm pointing between the packets, like in that space between them, as if insinuating that's this space where they cut the cards. I say, but if we complete the cut, then you'll lose where you cut the cards. So I'm just going to step it to the side like that, just so now you know where you cut the cards, yeah? And they're always like, yeah, fair. And then I sort of patter for a couple of seconds, and then I lift up the top packet again, and I tap on the top card, or the original top card, the force card, and I say, just have a look at the card that you cut to. And sometimes I'll push it just a couple of centimeters or a centimeter towards them, but I still get that moment where I'm like, are they going to call me out on this? Because it's like, so quite obviously the top card.
I do find the pointing on it does help with me. Is like this what I do a lot. And I remember my mom figures out most of the tricks I do, but then there's the occasion one, if like it fools her, I'm like, I know this is like a good one to do. And she was so fooled by the crosscut force to the point that after a few days she was like, you just have to tell me how it works. And she was just like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's such a good force. There's a blog called The Jerks, and it's the bloke that runs it. He goes out and he pays lay people to come and watch magic. So he'll get like 10 people in, and they'll test a load of things. And one of the things that they pull people in to test forces. And the number one most fooling force for all the people was the crosscut force, because they said it was in their hands, under their control. And it wasn't rushed. They chose and everything. And the number 10 force, which was the least fooling force, was the classic force, because they felt rushed and they felt like maybe they were given the card, which is exactly what's happening. So it's definitely a force that's not it's underused, I think.
Definitely. We talked about this before even the podcast started, the kind of start of the pandemic. That's kind of where it started. And we're on episode 47, which is nuts. People are listening, so that's good. But I remember talking
to this week.
No, this week, yeah, we lost everyone
listening. Just one person.
And that Magic Cafe reference and razor light or dicks. I mean, we're done. But anyway, but when we were talking about it, we were saying that every magician gets into magic, and then when they get into magic for a while, you just buy everything and you learn as much as you can, and it doesn't matter. You just want another trick, and it is almost like an addiction in that sense. You just want more and more and more. But there's tricks and stuff you learn in the first 6 months of magic, and then when you get a bit better, then you're like, no, those tricks are like my beginner tricks, and the crisscross force is one of those things. You can totally forget about it, and then when you actually become like a seasoned professional and you're gigging all the time, you go back to those. If you can remember what you did at the start, you'll have such a massive body of work there that you've totally dismissed. You're like, and then you'll see like an old promo video or something like 10 years ago, and you go, oh, I love that trick. I used to love that trick. It's happened to me so many times. There was tons of tricks of that, and we had Oz Perlman on. And he was like, oh, yeah, the biddle trick, it's such a great trick. And myself and Dave were like, the fucking biddle trick is a great trick. And we were like, we lost our shit. And I literally came off the podcast that night and I was like, how do you do the biddle trick? Oh, yeah. For the next 10 gigs, I just lashed it into every gig and it was killing. And I was like, why did I ever stop doing this? Like, it's just mad. It does happen, and we're all guilty of it.
Yeah. It's the biddle trick.
See, there you go. You're going to be doing it tomorrow.
Your card is. Look at these 5 cards. Boom. Now it's 4, and your card is face up in the middle of the deck. Boom. Killer.
Or your card can be anywhere.
Or anywhere, yeah.
But it can't be signed.
I remember seeing a classic pass. Jay Sankey do a classic pass, and then Erdney's card vanished. It was a sandwich sequence. Just joking around or something, I think, on this Sankey Very Much VHS. And and essentially he controls the cards at the top, and then he puts one of the jokers face up on the top, and he later vanishes it, and then the second one's a classic pass.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing them for the first time, and I was like, holy shit balls, what has just happened here? Like I remember seeing basic card technique by Richard Kaufman and having that on VHS and seeing him do the double undercut and going, there's no way that card's on the top there. There's no way he's done that. Like how can you be that accurate? And he'd turn it over and show it was, and that would fool me. And it's like you forget, like
the double undercut gets a bad rep.
We're so far down this rabbit hole that you forget how you only need to be a little bit in it to, but we're deep down in it. Like,
one of the things when we got Michael Amar, when he agreed, it was very early on, Michael Amar, we got him on the podcast, and the whole cast the shadow thing was like a big thing, because I was like, you can't change a card without casting a shadow. We had this whole like joke or whatever, but at the very, very end, we were like, Michael, I'm sorry to ask, but you're going to have to cast a shadow for us. And he was like, if you cast a shadow over there. And it was just awesome. I was like, this is it. If no one ever comes on the podcast again, I'm done. I'm happy. Episode 6 or 7, I think it was.
It was episode 3.
Or 3. I don't know. It was early. Yeah, it was I'm done. Michael Amar, cast a shadow. You can all get fucked.
One thing is that the key card, I think, is another underutilized thing with the crosscut force, because I fooled Steve really bad with a key card a few years ago, just with just the casualness of it, of like using a key card and then spectator shuffles the deck, takes any card, it's lost back but using a key card, and then I spread the cards face up and went, now you could have shuffled these into any order, saw his card, handed him the deck to shuffle it again, and it was like, now reframe it, and they forget that I ever touched the deck and literally went,
key
cool,
cards.
now shuffle it.
Yeah, I hate getting fooled with that shit. Pissed me off something awful.
Yeah, man. Like, do you know, I love that's one of the things that I teach if I'm teaching, but I do key cards with just with cuts instead of like trying to spread the cards and then it's like you just cut some cards to the table and have them say stop. And then they put their card back, and then you put everything on top, and it just feels chaotic. It feels like
you couldn't be controlling that, like
If you go here, like you go pick a card, they choose, and then you go here, put the card back here, and you do that that awful thing where you lift up half the deck, and then you blatantly look at the card that's next to it and put it back down. Like people clock that all the time, but if you chuck a key card in when just a simple glimpse of something, and then it kills people. It really does, and magicians as well. Like you say, it just goes out under the radar. Our
knowledge goes against us. I think we know too many methods, and then we're like, he didn't use a key. He wouldn't have used a key card. No, Dave wouldn't use a key card. Fucking he used the key card. Exactly. Yeah.
Even the crosscut force, like my family's seen a lot of magic, and I was out with dinner with them, and they're like, "Oh, do something." So I palmed off a card, hand them the deck, had them shuffle it, put it back on top, crisscross force. And then did an equivocate down to that card. So it was like, you shuffle the deck, you cut the deck, you name the card, turn over the card you cut to. And they're like, we've seen you do a lot of shit, but that's mental. It's like, but it's a palm and a crisscross force. Okay, cool. Like, but now that's like going to be like one of my things, because it gets a good reaction, but it's just, and it works well because the equivocate is your time misdirection, and everything just kind of works.
And it has that kind of false memory thing of it as well, which is always, we have to capitalize on that as magicians, because that's what makes like miracles happen. Like I'm sure, what's that Max Malini one where he like bit the button off the mayor's jacket and spat it back on? He didn't do like, like this, he did. It's awesome, but I don't think it happened. If it did happen, awesome. Whatever the method was, very cool. But like, it probably didn't, you know what I mean? Like whatever happened, whatever. But like, I think those things are crucial. And we've all had that where like people get a mixed memory and they're like, do that thing where you vanished my card and it was inside my sock. And I'm like, I don't do that one anymore.
I have a friend and I did Ambitious Card with Omni Deck to him at a festival, which then turned into over the years of like, because he's one of these friends that I only ever really see at certain events and things like that. And over the years, it's now turned into me having him sign a card which vanished from his hands and ended up inside his car, but his car was actually towed from this festival. So he only found it when he picked the car up from the tow bar. And the side
I love that.
Car. And every year this story has embellished a bit more and got a bit crazier. And I think it was card to mouth that really messed him up at the time. Like, no, the card went from there to there. It went it did not go like halfway across the nation and end up in a towner's yard.
But it's always when you meet somebody else and you perform for them, but they want to, you do a trick for their friend or whatever, and they're like, do that one where you did it for me that time, whatever, and they've said this like outlandish thing, and you're like, yeah, I don't do that one anymore. Here, look, pick a card. It's just like
Wayne Houchin told me about that. Crazy. We had Wayne Houchin lecture in Cork years ago, and he was telling a story about how he did thread and single needle to someone. And then they keep asking him to do the trick where he swallows a needle and a thread and pulls the needle and thread out of his eye. And they've just like completely combined the two tricks. And he's like, yeah, I don't do that anymore. It hurts so much. It's like, yeah, that was just a one-time special occasion.
Yeah. You were very lucky to see that one.
One of the other questions we come in as well was Killian asked, which of your releases do you perform the most? It's like, which is your favorite child?
Which is your favorite child?
I perform the most, probably anything. Word prediction. My favorite one to perform, I would probably say, is it's a linking card. It's not the OCL method, but it ends up with the same thing, permanently linked cards that are signed, and it's my kind of way of doing that. And so I think that's my favorite one to perform, just because I really enjoy it. I start off with it being a bit of a throwaway kind of thing, and it ends up being this really magical kind of moment. And you can play it as hilarious if you get two big burly blokes together and you link them together and you have them holding hands and looking longingly into each other's eyes. Or it could be really, really like an actual really special moment for a couple at a wedding or something. So yeah, I think linking cards my favourite, but for the one that I perform the most, it has to be anything, because it's kind of like a go-to for me for
like a linking card effect as well. You've got that impossible object to leave them. It's got that lasting impression kind of an effect.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool.
That's something really. I did. My mum turned 70 a week ago or something, and she had some family and friends around, and I did it for old family friends of mine. I haven't seen them in years, and he sat there, this bloke called Peter, and he sat there trying to fold these bits of card up to unfold them so that they would unlink. And he was sure there was some way I folded it that it had hooked around. And he sat there for ages, and then he put it away. And I kept coming back, and he would be sat there again looking at it, like trying to fold it around. It's like, they're just linked. It's
like that Christmas cracker thing you get with the spring and the little ring.
It's exactly that. That's exactly what he was trying to do with it. It was just hilarious. So yeah, I think I do love leaving something impossible for them. I think
frames the moment. I think it definitely, and they have something to go and explain, even though they probably go and explain it wrong, and it becomes a myth or whatever, or legend kind of a thing. But it's cool that they have it. Yeah,
I do a lot of personalized weddings, and so they go around with things that they show people that are like, like it might be a photo or something like this, and so I like framing that moment of magic, and like you say, it ends up being embellished and being like this, super story. But yeah,
cool. Yeah, that's cool. So we have the segment on the show called "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly," where we might have touched on some of these already, but it's a story about a performance that maybe started off good, went bad, and then eventually went into maybe an ugly territory.
I know exactly the story for this.
That one time a trick went wrong.
The good, the bad, the ugly. All right. So the good. I'm performing at a wedding. the groomsman books me, like they weren't expecting that they wanted a magician, but they've met me at this venue I'm a recommended supplier at, and it was all great. See him at the wedding, at the drinks reception, blow his mind away. He's like, what? And then at the end of it, he goes, oh, mate, here's my dad, impress him. And he pulls this big bloke over who's like a rugby player, like a huge bloke. And I've spent all of my grade A stuff. Like, I don't have an envelope in my wallet. I've got tricks that need resetting. Everything's out of kilter a bit. I'm just a bit like, oh, man. So I think, what can I do? I've got a £50 note. So I was like, have you got a £20 note? And he got a £20 note out, and I did a little bill switch into a 50. But he was one of these kind of cocky kind of blokes that was a bit like, oh, well, that's my money now, then kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, no, well, you have to turn it back. And it was a bit of a clunky bill switch, and it wasn't that great. And I was like, oh, and I felt this moment like this isn't, I need to Gandalf it here. I need to step it up a bit. And so I was like, right, double cross. Just going to nail it. Double cross. So when I do double cross, I don't say hold both hands out and now put one down or choose one or anything like that. I put my hand out low. So I drop my hand down low and I say, just put your hand out, and they copy me. And so they put their hand out low. And that's when I grab it and just say, no, just a bit higher. And that's perfect there. And so I just do it with one hand. And so I said, put your hand out. And as I went to grab it and lift it up, somebody passed a drink across, and it hit our hands and spilt drink everywhere. It was all a bit of a kerfuffle. And I was like, oh, and I didn't actually say that, no, just a bit higher. So all that's happened, really, is I've held his hand for a couple of seconds. This big rugby man, I've just held his hand for a couple of seconds. And like, there was all this stuff going on, and like everyone else reacted really strongly to it, but he didn't really. And I was like, oh, we had a moment there. We had a moment. I was like, damn it. So then I went, right, okay, what can I do? And Cypher had just come out. And I was like, right, Cypher. Gave the groom the lottery ticket. Went here, type in your PIN code. And I'm like, right, because I'm going to nail him. I'm going to tell him the PIN code. And I go, boom, 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 boom. And I look, and hello. And I look, sorry, my dog has just walked in.
Oh, that's cute.
But yeah, hello, you. No, you're going to have to leave, though, because I am talking. But I was like, right, Cypher. So I got him to do the things, and I looked at the number. It wasn't right. I was like, this isn't right. And so I was like, oh, crap, what am I going to do here? And so just trying to think on my feet, I was like, and I went to turn the phone around, and I hit the C button as I did it. And I was like, oh mate, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've just screwed that up. And I had it. So I said, can you just do it again? But I had it set to bring the force up on the second equals. So he went, all right, blah, 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 equals. There you go. And it was the wrong force number again. And I was just like, no.
Oh, no.
So I turned the phone to me, and then I hit the equals button again, and it brought up the correct numbers. And that's when I kind of reeled it off. But like, there was this whole like, yeah, that wasn't the number we saw. I'm pretty sure of it. Kind of, there was just this vibe, and it was like horrible. So that was the bad. And then they all get called through to the meal. I'm only booked to do the drinks reception and photos. But I'll go to the top table and show the bride and groom some magic if I don't get to see them, really. You know, and I didn't get to see the bride, but this groom's dad came up to me and was like, right, are you going to come to the top table because so-and-so hasn't seen any magic? And I was like, yeah, no, of course I am. Of course. And he was like, good, because I want to be impressed. And he was like, and I was like, whoa. And he went, the money thing that was like, you know, some sneaky switchy thing kind of thing. And he went, if you also, the thing with the X, if you want to touch somebody, you might want to anchor it or like touch them somewhere else at the same time so they don't feel it. And then he went, and the third thing, that was just an app on your phone. I was just like, burned. Well. All right, okay. So
you'd be like, I didn't know I was on Fulas. Fuck me, like.
yeah, exactly. Oh Jesus! So I went to the top table, and the first trick, I wrote something on some flash paper. The writing appears on the back of their sign card. Woo! Shazam! And they all looked at the dad and they go, so how do you do that? And he's like, I don't know. And they're like, ha ha. And I was like, right, okay. So you know the instant tea by the French twins.
Yeah.
Turns into the tea bag on the straight.
Yeah.
So I've got that in my top pocket, and I'm like, right, I'll tell you what. Here, we'll do this. We're gonna have a go. Right, I'm gonna buy you a drink. I'll put this down here. I'm gonna buy you a drink if this goes wrong. Okay. And I'll set this up right now. I've got a prediction in my top pocket. Take the cards, cut the cards, and I did a cross-cut for us. And then I was like, right, have a look at the card that you cut to. And he did. He looked at it, and it was the force card. Everything's sweet. I went, what was the card? And he went, 9 of spades. I was like, 9 of spades. And I pulled out this instant tea thing, and I was like, are you sure? And he was like, yep. And I was like, I guess I owe you a drink then. And that's when I shook it, and I was like, how about a cup of tea? And everyone went, way! And it was all hilarious and everything like that. I then did my little job as a magician and handed him the tea bag. And then I went, no, here, touch it, feel it. It doesn't feel like what should be in there, does it? And he's like, oh, and then everyone like starts to calm down. Everyone starts watching. There's people all around. It's being filmed on video. There's a photographer there. There's all like the groom's party and watching and everything. And they're like, and you see all their faces as they start to think like, oh my God, the card's in there. And he rips it open, and I'm like swaggering off like some mad wanker. He's like, it's the wrong card. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, I cut to the 9 of spades. This is the 6 of hearts. And it was the wrong bloody card.
Oh, Jesus.
And the bride was sat there with her chin on the table going, like, what? What's going on? And I was just like, it's just gone wrong. And I didn't, because I'd left him with the cards. I just got all cocky and walked away. I didn't even have the cards, so I couldn't even cull out the 6 of hearts and like, you know, or like the 9 of spades and then do something with that. And like, they were just like, what's going to happen? I was like, it's just gone wrong. It's just gone wrong. I'm like, don't know.
Off by 3 and 1 color. It's
I
like,
just
that
hard. That they even said like, you know, that he was like my kryptonite. It was just like everything just went to absolute crap. So yeah, I walked out of there thinking, God, do I need to refund them? Because like, the whole drink reception had been like people going, this man's Harry Potter. He's like a wizard. This is crazy. Like, you know, the whole time. And then I met this dad, and it just all went crap. I should have at that time, when I knew I wasn't on my A game and that he was an important person, I should have turned around and gone, I'll tell you what, I've got something extra special for you. It's in my bag. I'm just going to go and grab it. Okay, I'll come and find you in 2 seconds. And I should have gone off and reset everything, and then come back and compose
it doesn't sound though like it's just like a rugby dad. It sounds like some guy in the CIA or some shit, to be fair. Like it doesn't.
You know what? I did hear him talk about plastic thumbs or something. So he obviously learned some magic somewhere, but he just threw me. The whole thing threw me. I just wasn't ready for it. I knew I wanted to impress this guy because he wasn't thinking of booking a magician. And then he brings his dad out, and his dad's this huge lad. And I'm like, right now, I've got to do something. I felt, you know, well, I should have just gone, no, this is not the right time, and I should have taken control of that situation. And I didn't.
Just done a double lift into his hand.
Yeah, I could have done that. I was trying to be too clever again. Yeah. If I'd have done a double lift, an omni deck or something, he'd have hands down just gone, yep, great, fucking.
Yeah. It's, I think I've been in this like situations as well where it's just that one person or one couple. Like I was doing a Valentine's Day where there's all couples at different tables, and I was going around to them. I got this one couple, and just nothing would work. I was like 6 tables in, everything went great. They're like 10 tables after, everything went great. With them, nothing worked. Like everything just went to shit. And you're just like, I don't understand what's going on.
Bad energy between you or something. It's just like there's something just not working here.
Because again, that person was a bit like, well, fine, you're the magician, show me something. And then you're kind of like, oh shit, oh God, let's try to get through this. And it's just like them being difficult in times and stuff. But it's like once one thing goes wrong, it can be sometimes where you're just like either you recover or it's just like you keep digging.
I had one of my first few gigs that I did. I had some bloke call me out on a couple of things, and then I was trying to be all cocky, and he put the card back, and I controlled it to the top. And I don't think he saw it or anything, but he said, "Can I shuffle the cards?" So I top palmed the card out and gave him the cards and went, "Yeah, sure." And he went, "Oh, I saw that. It's in your hand right there." And I'm just like, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, it's awful. I always just go like, yeah, sure, and just hope a key card will keep their card. So just like glance at the bottom handed, because I'm like more than likely to build the riffle shuffle, and it might actually just stay together, and we'll just give that a go.
Yeah, I'll tell you what.
There's nothing worse than someone trying to bust you, and then they've always, at the end, like, I used to do a bit of magic, or I had a book, or whatever. Like they spent the whole set like ruining it for everyone.
Yeah.
I had a guy before going, I had this like thumb thing. You put salt into it, and you can make it disappear. I was like, yeah, and then I did a bill switch for him, and he lost his shit, and I was like, I never did that. I never had one of those things. I remember they were in magic sets, but I've never used one. I'm literally like.
I had somebody tip me £10 when I did a bill switch for him, because he said, I saw somebody do that exact same trick, but he was using a plastic thumb. Like, yours is amazing. I was just like, all right, I'll take it. Thank you.
and I'll buy 2 more thumb tips. Thank you. Get out.
I used to always use the line when someone's like, "Oh, do I get to keep the money after do a bill switch or like extreme burn or something?" I go, "Oh, I can't. The government have asked us not to, because it was actually magicians doing that caused the Great Recession in 2008." So, and I especially around like 2010, 2013, it was like, "Yeah, the recession, that was our fault, so I have to turn it back." And just give it back.
It's actually a thing. Yeah,
it's actually a thing. Government have told magicians.
It sounds like a public service announcement. So they're like, "Oh Jesus, the magician told us the facts."
Yeah, too much inflation.
You start talking into an earpiece and go, "Oh, yeah, sorry, I'll stop telling him. Yeah, sorry."
Yeah. You know too much. I'm gonna have to kill you.
No too much.
Yeah. It's like that thing you were talking about a while ago with the money inside the beer mat, which was on a David's Own. I think it was on that. But I remember I was doing that before for a while, and this guy was like, how is the money in there? And he didn't know I was a magician. And I was like, well, actually, I know a guy who works with Guinness, and they're not meant to do this, like, but it's like a promotional thing, but only some people know about it, and it's for people who work with the drinks companies when they're out and about, and they don't, and everyone's like, oh yeah, so and so, and I just did it again, and he was like, so it could be in any beer mat, and I was like, yeah, and I just went to the bathroom and got another drink, talked to my friends, and I was about to leave. I looked over in the corner, and your man's just like. He literally has a stack of them, like about at least 30 or 40, and they were just ripping through them like it was a scratch card. I may be evil. I don't know. The more stories I tell to people on this podcast.
That's great, though. That's a cracker. I love that. That's wicked.
And again, like you said, it's one of those kind of lasting impressions. I know it's a bit like it's more of a prank, I guess, but it's still magic. Or you've left them with this kind of this little thing, little memory, I guess. I mean, because that's what it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that moment is like, when your reality is shifted like that, you know when somebody has deceived your reality.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my God, the name actually makes sense now.
Yeah, it never made sense up to that moment.
We never put that together. That's
it only took 47 episodes.
We spent so long trying to come up with a name. We had Twisted Reality. We had
a lot of shit names.
So many names. It took so long.
Yeah. They probably wanted to call it Rub-a-Dub at one stage. God fucking knows.
The Rub-a-Dub podcast. That's a great idea.
There you go.
Spin-off.
That's not a bad podcast name, actually.
Yeah. We're going to edit this bit out of the podcast just to keep that.
Yeah, episode 50, we're switching to Rub-a-Dub podcast. And everyone who doesn't know what is magic, they're like, what the fuck kind of a podcast is that?
Yeah. People think it's like it's something about being how to take a good bath.
Yeah.
Magic and baths. Well, we've been going for nearly coming up in 2 hours, so I just want to say thanks so much, Ben, for coming on. We really appreciate it. It's been absolutely incredible.
Lost.
And we definitely have to get you on again to talk more about magic and everything. Where can people find you online and learn more about your products and all that sort of stuff?
I don't know. My products are just kind of like out there, because I generally put my downloads out through Murphy's, and then they go out through everyone, or like through Penguin. And so I'm pretty much on most people's websites if you just search Ben Williams. But if you want to get in touch, My website's unbelievablemagic.com.
Nice.
Unbelievably, yeah. Unbelievablemagic.com. You can get in touch with me through there, or you can hit me up. I'm probably mostly on Instagram, which is at Ben Mofo Williams, I believe it is. So yeah,
perfect. Yeah, we'll put them into the description of the video as well, so people can check them out from there. And if you have watched this, definitely please hit the subscribe button. It does help, and the like button, and all the other buttons. Or you think of a number. Now lock it in by hitting the like button and the subscribe button.
I was there. I was like, am I supposed to think of 37? Is that the number I'm supposed to think of?
Yeah. Well, I'm just trying the Rick Lax techniques that I saw him using on Facebook. Lock in your answer, your decision.
Yeah. Play the algorithms, David. Play the algorithm.
I'm going to call this like Ben Williams shits on band or something like that, or Ben Williams hates.
You won't believe what Ben Williams said about Razor Life.
Yeah. Or Ben Williams shits on the crosscut force ? Because now, even though the fact that
I'll tell you what, I should see if I can get that photo of me with Johnny Burrell and send it to you for you to use as like podcast episode image.
Yeah,
definitely.
You're not using it for promotion. We're using it.
Using it for promotion.
It's completely different. We can do it fine.
I actually saw them play Dublin years ago, and he fell off an amp. So there you go. Yeah. He was trying to climb the amp to get up onto a balcony to be all rock star, and he fell. I did cut the song mid-song, and I was like, they used to be good. That was a good gig. That part. And then he kind of just hobbled back, and I was like, that's not Freddie Mick Jagger. That's more like fucking Elton John. And I kind of ruined that. But anyway.
So yeah, don't climb on amps.
Don't climb on amps. You heard it here first. And don't put shaving foam on batteries and then bend the coin. Just shave your face and cop on.
Thanks so much, guys. We'll be back again next week at some point. Thanks again, Ben, for coming on. We really appreciate it.